Is Florida State going to lose again? Look, I refuse to pick them to win until they win a football game because the offense is inept. That's Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse, joining me here. We're going to pick every game in the ACC this week, but this game would have been written off by most, certainly not on this show, that never could have possibly happened, as a win for Florida State in the preseason, but this line is down to -2 for the Seminoles. I see nothing, absolutely nothing from this Florida State team to give me any confidence that they can go, even at home, and win this football game. I think the Bears go into Tallahassee and get it done 27-17.
I'm in the same boat as you. Why would I pick Florida State to win a game until they prove otherwise? I mean, Florida State's just bad. They're terrible. They can't really do anything. I guess their defense finally showed some signs of life against Memphis, but there's only two components of offense: running the football and throwing the football. If you're not good at throwing and you're not good at running, you're not going to have a good offense. And they haven't moved the ball once, except for the opening drive against Georgia Tech, really. That's it. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Cal. I honestly, they should be favored, too.
Barring a special teams touchdown, I don't know how the Seminoles are going to score more than 10 points. They can't, and they refuse to trust DJU, and frankly, with good reason. They can't push the ball down the field. They can't even create an intermediate passing game. It looks like they're babying a true freshman quarterback sprung into action before they plan for him to ever play football. They're just handing the ball off and throwing a bunch of screen passes. So I'm 100% going with the Bears here. I think they go into Tallahassee and get it done. Let's go to your game here, Jackson, because Syracuse, kind of a surprise team in the ACC. I thought they'd win some games because their schedule is pretty darn favorable, and Kyle McCord has looked good so far. Q's are 2-0. This is a Friday night game at home, and Stanford's coming to town. I'd feel a lot more afraid if I were Syracuse if this game was on the farm, but still, I don't think Stanford is a bad football team. Q's need to be on high alert here.
I think they do need to be high alert, and luckily for us, I think they are on high alert. Now, they are coming off a bye week, and so is Stanford, but we have a first-year head coach who has never been a head coach at any level prior to Syracuse. So there's no data to suggest how the Orange are going to come off a bye week, but I think they're going to come out firing. I think they're going to look good, and I would pick Syracuse to win this game and probably cover as well.
What is the one scenario, or maybe you think there are a couple different ways, that Syracuse loses this game? You know, Stanford against TCU, they were competitive, but they lost at home, and then, you know, they had an easy opponent in their other game that they've played this season. But how does Syracuse stumble and allow the Cardinal to walk in to their home stadium and get a win?
So, Spencer, I think I was watching your podcast, I think last week, and you mentioned something about a box score stat, where there is that one stat that's like eye-popping, and you're like, huh? And in each of Syracuse's first two games, there has been that one stat where you look at it and you're like, what happened? We know what happened in week 1 against Ohio. They let up 250 yards rushing. They solved the run defense against Georgia Tech to many people's surprise. They solved it. But against Georgia Tech, they have 3 special teams miscues. You have a block punt, a block field goal, and you fail to recover an onside kick. So I can't necessarily give you that one thing, like specifically as to how Stanford is going to win this game, or because I don't think they're going to win the game. It's more of if there's one of those box score stats that you can look back on that could derail an entire team. Because I think Syracuse is going to control the pace of play. But let's just say they turn the ball over 4 times. Well, then Stanford really has a good chance of winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think you turn the ball over 4 times, you can lose to just about anybody in college football. I think the Q's win.
Maybe not to Florida State.
Oh, the Seminoles with a body blow. It's so well-deserved. It's a terrible football team. They were the first and only team to hit their preseason over-under win total with the under because they're 0-3 and their win total is 9.5. I think the Q's win. I'll take Stanford to cover that number, though, 24-17. I'll take Syracuse to win that football game. Let's go elsewhere around the ACC and give some rapid-fire picks for the week. NC State travels to Clemson. Wolfpack, one of the most disappointing teams to start this college football season. They're a 20-point favorite. I think Clemson is really good. I don't know if they're covering 20. I'll take them 38-20 over NC State.
I don't think NC State's going to score 20 points.
Really?
I don't think they're going to score 20. Aren't they starting a true freshman quarterback this week? against that
Okay.
Clemson defense.
Okay.
Against the Clemson Clemson defense, really, they have
That's a
more
good point.
talent. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. It's in Death Valley. I will go 34-7.
Mm. Mm. I might not like my prediction by the end of it. I'm going to stick with it. Maybe a backdoor cover.
Take integrity.
Maybe a backdoor cover.
It could be one of those things where it's 34-7 in the fourth quarter, and then
and then they put up a couple touchdowns. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. That's the backdoor cover.
James Madison going to Chapel Hill to play North Carolina. I was down on North Carolina coming into this year, and yet I look up and they're 3-0. Do you think they make it 4-0 against the Dukes?
Yes, I do. I do.
Favored by 10.5. I'll go North Carolina, but again, I like the underdog there to cover the number.
To cover, but
I'll take 31-27.
Home is going to win that game.
I think 31-27. I think James Madison, solid. Can't overlook him. Virginia going to Coastal Carolina. I think this is a toss-up game, frankly. This game is being played in South Carolina. Give me the Chanticleers to knock off the Cavaliers.
I actually agree with you on this. And you look at the line, it's 3 points for the road team in Virginia. Yeah, those home underdogs, when it's within a couple of points, we saw this with Syracuse a couple weeks ago. That's a prime opportunity for an upset right there. Give me Coastal Carolina.
Again, I love the underdog on the spread, but not the money line. Georgia Tech, 10.5-point dog at Louisville. This is probably one of the bigger games in the ACC this week. I think winner probably is ranked inside the top 25. Georgia Tech would be 4-1. Louisville would be 3-0, and Louisville's currently ranked 19th. I think Louisville wins this football game at home, but boy, I am hard-pressed to see Brent Key's team going into Louisville and just getting boat raced by 14 to 20 points.
I'm partially in agreement, and for selfish reasons, I'm rooting for Georgia Tech, so that win over Georgia Tech looks a little bit better for Syracuse. You know what? Let's go bold here. I'm going to go outright Georgia Tech. We need upset. I always have some sort of upset special. I do it in the NFL all the time, and I'm like, you know what? It's time to break it out for college football. Give me Georgia Tech to go into Louisville and win that game outright. Let's go. I think Georgia Tech's going to bounce back. I know they did against VMI, but that doesn't count.
Jackson taking the Jackets. Yellow Jackets, it is. It was like kind of close. Start with the same four letters. Anyway, Rutgers at Virginia Tech. Here, I'll take a favorite. I think Rutgers is a solid team, but Virginia Tech, I think they are in prove-it mode. I think that loss to Vanderbilt has given them a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. I think they cover that 3.5. I'll take Virginia Tech 30-17 over Rutgers.
I will agree with you on that. I'm taking Virginia Tech. I think Kyron Drones is going to have a big day. Let's go 31-20 Virginia Tech.
Here's an underrated team in the ACC right now. Pitt is on the verge of becoming a 4-0 football team following the backyard brawl. Thrilling victory against West Virginia. They're at home against Youngstown State, I presume. Neither one of us are going to take the upset there. So let's move on. Duke, Middle Tennessee.
Hold on, upset special, Youngstown State?
You're not going. You're going to take Youngstown State. Okay. Just making sure we're on the same page here. Eli Holstein's been playing some really good football for the Panthers. How about Duke and Manny Diaz with Malik Murphy at quarterback? They had that game at Northwestern that went into overtime early in the season. They're 3-0. They go to Middle Tennessee, 2-touchdown favorite. You think they cover that number?
I think they do. I don't think Middle Tennessee is that good. And for Duke, a 3-0 team, you want to be a bowl team this year. This is a game that you got to win. I think not only are they going to win, but they're going to cover it too. I guess if I had to pick a score, give me 35-10 Duke.
I think Duke wins that game. I think they cover the 14 as well. TCU at SMU. Here is a fascinating non-conference matchup. Winner, I think, kind of proves to the rest of the league that they're capable of being more than just a middle-of-the-road conference foe. And look, TCU's got Josh Hoover, one of the leading passers in all of college football with 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns through the first few games. I've been really impressed. I am not impressed with SMU to this point. I think the Horned Frogs go into Dallas, coming down just the road from Fort Worth, and I think they go and win the football game. They're favored by 2.5. Give me the Horned Frogs 38-27.
I also haven't been impressed with SMU. I mean, it started week 1 in the season. They just really haven't looked that great, but their record's okay. Having said that, I will also take TCU and the points, 34-27.
Michigan State, Boston College, another sneaky non-conference game here. Eagles coming off a loss against Missouri last week when they were ranked in the top 25. They're at home favored by 6.5 points. I like Bill O'Brien's team in this spot more than Jonathan Smith's in a battle of first-year head coaches.
I got another upset special for you.
Oh, Sparty with the upset.
Give me Michigan State. You know, Boston College has to be feeling pretty good. You know, they get that all-elusive moral victory last week against Missouri, you know, because moral victories, you know, they're nice. But I think it's going to come back down to earth against Michigan State at home. I think this is a prime time letdown game for Boston College. So I'm going to take Michigan State not only to cover, but also outright money line. Give me Michigan State in a close one, 23-17.
Lastly, in the ACC, I think Boston College wins that game. I'll take them just barely to cover 28-20 over the Spartans. I think there's one too many turnovers in that game from the young quarterback, Aiden Childs. Miami, maybe the best team in the ACC at South Florida. Here's another spot where I'm saying, hey, give me the underdog to cover, Miami to win, but I think this can be a classic trap game spot. South Florida is pretty good. Game is on the road for Miami. It's not a long trip, but they're favored by 16.5. I think the Hurricanes win the game. I don't think it's a problem. I think they win the game 31-17.
I disagree with you. USF looked pretty good against Alabama a few weeks ago, so I'll give them that, but they still ultimately lost that game 42-16. I think Miami is going to, I mean, maybe it's close in the first half-ish, but I think Miami pulls away. We'll go 41-14 Hurricanes.
That is every game in the ACC this week, and that is Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse, joining me here on the show. Jackson, appreciate it.
Of course, anytime.
Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.